and you've been an outspoken advocate for third parties. I have been as well. I voted for Jill Stein, and I also voted for Howie Hawkins. And you've done so much great work to promote the Green Party, for example, and the third party cause in general. You've correctly pointed out, of course, the borderline futile prospects of reforming the Democratic Party. And I share the opinion that it is at least worth it to try to engage in the third party effort. That being said, as we were just mentioning, participation definitely dropped off in 2020. The Green ticket only received, I think, like 0.3% of the vote, which was a pretty steep decline from the 1% that Jill Stein earned in 2016. And to me, it seems like the biggest problem with getting undecided voters on board with voting for third-party candidates is that they simply don't feel like it has any point. Like, they feel like outside of just a mere protest vote, what's even the point of going to vote for a candidate that's only going to garner a fraction of a percent anyway? And you can't blame people for coming to that conclusion. I mean, it's kind of already pointless in a sense to vote anyway. So it just makes that problem worse. So I think that, part of that is obviously because of the systemic thresholds and the barriers in place to third party success, which are many. However, I also do believe that we should be introspective as a movement and think about what we should change going forward. And that's something we've discussed on this show at length about how to potentially, get more interest from the public in a leftist third party. And we were thinking a little bit, what about running a more of a brash populist, a character like Jesse Ventura with high name recognition that could potentially get like the Green Party to that crucial 5%, if nothing else. And then going forward, perhaps voting third party wouldn't seem like such a hopeless cause to all those out there that haven't already decided that that's the best path forward. And I was just wondering if you have any thoughts on that or any thoughts in general on third party resistance, especially going into 2024. I know that's a little ways off, but we're getting there.
It'll be here before you know it. Yes, you're correct. I am a Green, and I voted for Greens at every opportunity, even when I was still registered as a Democrat. And I too voted for the Stein-Baraka ticket in 2016 and Hawkins-Walker ticket in 2020. But what happened, the degree of propaganda directed against the vilification of the Green Party after 2016 was even worse than what happened in 2000 when Al Gore lost in the Electoral College to George Bush. We were blamed as the spoilers. We were told that Trump's victory was entirely our fault. Now, mind you, Hillary Clinton raised $1 billion, and all she needed was 78,000 votes in the right states and couldn't do it. I'm not sure why the Green Party is to blame. And then, of course, Russia was to blame. But then, of course, it's the Green Party working with Russia, which was to blame. And it's hard to come back from that. In addition, many states have taken the Green Party, we've lost our ballot line. So Howie Hawkins and Angela Walker didn't appear in some states. Here in New York, where I live, horrible Governor Andrew Cuomo, he sneaked through a change in a budget bill last year, and the threshold to have a ballot line went up by an enormous amount. It used to be if you had a gubernatorial candidate who got at least 50,000 votes, that party had a ballot line. Now it's a bigger percentage of all the votes gathered. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on what it is. But to make a long story short, Greens don't have a ballot line in New York anymore. And this has happened across the country. There are like about 15 states where we used to have a ballot line and we don't anymore. And this is, it's to try to help the Democrats who, just to sum up, I think what happened in 2016, first of all, let's not forget Hillary Clinton wanted Donald Trump to be the Republican nominee because she thought he'd be easiest to beat. Nobody should ever forget that. But there was a lack of enthusiasm for her. They should have gone with Bernie Sanders. I'm sure he would have beaten Donald Trump. So there was a lack of enthusiasm. Trump created enthusiasm. It wasn't a positive enthusiasm, but there were millions of people who didn't vote or hadn't voted before. He got 2 million more votes than Mitt Romney did in 2012, all that to say, plus voter suppression. And the Democrats weren't watching. They weren't, Wisconsin was one of the states Trump won, one of those states he flipped between 2012 and 2016. they established a voter ID law. So where were the Democrats? How could they not pay attention to something like that? And they lost 20,000 votes, and there you go. That's how Trump sneaked in. So, but having said all that, blaming the left was something that was very, very damaging to the Green Party. And Trump, lived up to all the worst things said about him. Right. So it was easy for people to just say, I just want to get rid of Trump. And I think a lot of people who didn't bother to vote in 2016 came out for Biden this time. Mm-hmm. But I believe this whole spoiler argument is nonsense. I feel no obligation to help the Democrats. They are the ones who can raise $1 billion, who get the corporate media on their side, who all of those things. They have an advantage, and it's up to them to deliver something to the people and get the votes they need. It's not anyone else's obligation. And no one should feel badly if they didn't vote for Hillary Clinton in 2016. It was Hillary Clinton's fault that she lost. But I do believe we have to have I think probably a coalition of left parties in this country. I don't know about getting a big name person. I mean, it depends on who it is. I don't know what Jesse Ventura. Everybody was all hot for Jesse Ventura, and I was like, well, he's not a Green. Does he? Does he support the same policies the Green Party does? It's on the one hand, getting a celebrity got the Republicans to win in 2016. Right. Celebrities usually win, by the way. Let's get Ronald Reagan and Arnold Schwarzenegger and all these other people won. But I think those of us, and the Democrats always make their case for us. We're just supposed to be happy with crumbs. Right. And Biden acting like he's got nothing to do with whether or not there's a minimum wage.
Like he hasn't been in office for 50 years.
Exactly. I mean, really, almost 50 years that he's being either a senator, vice president, and now president, who apparently doesn't have anything to do with these issues that we want. We cannot keep supporting these people who do us in time and time again. Yeah.
And by the way, just to answer your question, Ventura has always kind of been defined by a bold anti-establishment populism. In recent years, he has, however, drifted more towards a socialist politics, and he's even admitted that and said he would be in line with the environmental goals, for example, of the Green Party. So in my opinion, it was a little bit of a missed opportunity, but I do understand why people had concerns with him being
also he didn't want to run. He was like waffling back and forth, so it wasn't even like he really wanted to.
It was a little bit of a mess for sure.
Yeah, it was.